sort of have split from the group. After seeing those images, I was like, obviously. I mean, if this reflects the general...
But Queerowe participated in this performance.
Yes, but later they decided to form their own group. So I'm like, okay, so if this reflects the sort of domination, rules in this group, obviously the girls went off, yeah? But there is another thing which is very visible and very clear in this performance, which is, okay, we're gonna have the sex in public. So coming back also to the text that I sort of proposed for our reading, one of the claims of Berland and Warner is that there is nothing more public than privacy, than intimacy. This is the beginning of the text. And actually, them doing all this sexual activity in the museum, they are precisely pointing to that point. So to me, this action does not only stand as a direct answer to some proposal of Medvedev and Putin and the political authorities, but it also stands as a declaration of, okay, our culture is an extremely sexualized culture, let's see to which extent, so let's test this border between public and private. So to me, for instance, in this sense, that action was actually quite an interesting one, in a more general way than just a reply to Putin's politics. But that would be my sort of. But is there any other comments or discussion that we could have over those words?
Well, my question that I am asking myself when I see this performance of Vaina is the use of heterosexual sex here, which is very subversive. And on the one hand, the subversiveness is due to the fact that, of course, they are doing something illegal. It is impossible, it is prohibited in many countries to have sex in public spaces. And this is the main dimension of the transgressive behavior here. But also the other thing is that by the strategy of subversive affirmation, being more Catholic than the Pope, they are making straight sex queer. Am I right or not?
I was thinking about that actually, and to me it seems that the queering is also coming from an irony, a certain level of irony that happens here. Because you can also treat this performance as a kind of mockery over heterosexual sex. It's like laughing at it. Yeah? So it's performing it in such a way that there is nothing pleasant about it or even pretty in this conventional aspect, but it's rather a kind of ridiculization of straight sexuality, and also doing it in this specific way and not any other. Also, it might be taken as a claim of like, okay, we're going to laugh at the traditional or a kind of male-dominated version of sexual intercourse. So there is a lot of laughter in it, and I believe that this is a specific aspect of queer cultures or queer countercultures in general, is this element of irony, of laughter, of ridiculization, etc.
Of taking into quotation mark, of performing, because this is something, they are performing, this is a performance, they are performing, and the aspect of performing is very strongly emphasized. And of course, when people do real sex, they don't really think about this as performance.
No.
Because they are immersed in it totally.
Real sex or was just married here?
This is a real sex that was happening here. It wasn't imitation.
But on the other hand, it was a performance. So the question of what is real and what is real in sex is actually quite this is why I had this reflexive moment that you might have seen. Because it's actually a very good question. It's like, what are we doing when we engage ourselves, or okay, let's put it in a less personalized way. Somehow I started to feel this little uncomfort, which is also an interesting aspect of sex in public somehow. Also sex being discussed in public, okay? So if a subject of individual involves in sexual activity, what actually happens? Is it like natural drive that drives us towards doing this or that? Or is it that we've actually seen certain forms of sexual practices and we reproduce them, right? So how can we discuss the authenticity or the lack of authenticity of those people here? And what do we compare this to? What could be this meter of Sèvres model, sexual practice that we could compare this one to? Because it seems like as if there was no original, no true, genuine sexual practice that we could compare the more performative ones to. No? And here lies the kind of core of queer anything, queer theory, queer practice, queer performance, queer anything. Yes? It's this super serious attack on the concept of original, natural, true, genuine practice. Do you get the point, or am I disagree? Because this is what actually happens. We haven't read queer theory in extenso. Yes, we just had this text and several other texts suggested literature. But I hope and believe that maybe at least some of us have made some more research about.
Well, in general, I think that most of you know about this, that queer is no longer associated with something that is gay, lesbian, transgender, or bisexual, but queer means everything that is somehow in a distance, in relation to, in a sort of critical or distance relationship from heteronormativity. So everything that questions somehow heteronormativity can be queer.
Obviously.
So, well, I don't know if it's obvious, but this is also something that many theorists claim that this is the case, which is a problematic aspect because many gay, lesbian, transgender, and bisexual people disagree. You cannot just be queer because you have sort of polymorphous heterosexual relationship. But other theorists consider that yes, you are queer because you are against you are working sexually outside the sort of strict heterosexual norms. So from this point of view, this very heterosexual text, which is critical towards political and biological heteronormativity, is queer. Being totally straight.
But being a parody of straightness,
yes.
Let's say,
and this is the tricky question here, and many queer theorists would claim that this is a critical action towards heteronormativity.
I understand how this performance is critical towards biological heteronormativity and the use of sex only as a biological thing, but I'm not sure I understand or agree that this is very critical towards power and roles in heteronormativity because of the way that the sex is being performed and the positions, and because these people are real couples also in reality. So I'm
some of them. We know that some of them are, yes. Well, I agree with you.
Yeah. But this is the same question, I think. Is there a natural sexual act? Is there a natural act?
Or kind of original, true, sexual behavior with which we could compare all the other ones. So, I don't know, I was several times thinking also about all this big issue that the Hollywood cinema has with sexual intercourse. As you know, probably there are very restrictive rules about how we film, how we don't film in Hollywood, but how the Hollywood directors film the sexual intercourse. So there, and the huge difference that it does make when like in several quite popular movies, the actual sexuality takes place. So my question has always been, how do we differ the short bus, for instance, I don't know how familiar you are with short bus movie, but so several queering projects where the actual actors have had what was called actual sexual intercourse. And then in the other movies where actors sort of stage sexual situation.
It's imitated.
Yes, but the issue is, if me as a viewer, if I really look at it and sort of start to follow the narrative, so if I believe in what happens there for a second, and think that what happens is a sexual intercourse, how does this situation differ from what is being called authentic? Because for me the difference is blurred. If the film presents, whatever, this is a side topic and maybe for a video.
Where is the original? Is there authenticity in sexuality? Are we not all copies? Are we not all simulacra? I think this is the question not only of the representation of sexuality, but sexuality as such, an sich. Can it be pure without any mediation at all?
Because I think that a certain purity claim lies precisely in the premises of the public and the private division. So actually the genuine sex, the true sexuality, lies at home. This is where, so this is where the authenticity is hidden. So I think this is a very important aspect and very unrecognized aspect of the public-private debate. It's that if we want to speak about authenticity, we'll find it under this division. So this division sort of grants that there is some authentic intimacy. If we take off the division, many people are going to claim that whatever we are left with is not authentic anymore. So it's not a good sexuality, therefore it's not good intimacy, therefore it's not authentic love, and therefore we are doomed. Because all the good things are sort of taken off. Do you see the logic here? There is a certain logic of claiming that the divide is important in order to secure, to protect through genuine affect. And the problem also of Laurent Berland and Warner, but also of all queer artists, for instance, is that for them, taking the intimacy out of this home or otherwise private spaces does not necessarily delete the authenticity of whatever affective involvement is in there. But maybe we can also talk about other things. I don't know. Because I'm suddenly shocked by the silence, because somehow I thought you're going to make a point to discuss it. So maybe there are some more points about the material presented or the claims that have been made, or all of you, most of you have written texts about public art. Please. You wrote about graffiti. Would you consider the breach action as a graffiti work? And would it have any hope or nice critical aspects?
Yes, what I was thinking about in the context of Shuttle movement, that radical discussion in a democratic society should be along the fight for hegemony in a legal sense, so to not cross the line between legality and illegality, to continue a discussion between the two opposite sides. And this kind of goes against it. But also we could argue that Russia is not really a democratic society. So other ways of rising a discussion should be contemplated or acted upon.
Also, a very important aspect of the Wojna group is actually offense. They really, not only, so they are sort of offending the legal system, this is actually their claim. And they are somehow also offending the non-democratic or anti-democratic institutions. So this issue of offense as an element, as a strategic element of artwork is somehow important maybe to discuss upon, because the lesbian couple, the Polish artists working on this journey work, they actually are very inoffensive.
Well, yes, on the one hand, you would call them very unoffensive and very soft strategy. This is the soft strategy. It's not Wojna, of course, but you have a variety of strategies, which always depend on the sort of national and political context. But on the one hand, if you had the exhibition in the private gallery in Toruń, the gallery was crushed by someone, probably we know what someone, but some far-right groups, some sort of the League of Polish, not the All Polish Youth, or just a football hooligans, some far-right groups throw stones at the gallery, and the discussion had to be organized in a big contemporary art center which could provide a protection with its guards. So they were offensive as well, because if they wouldn't be, this kind of reaction, like destruction and the need for protection, wouldn't be necessary. So again, the context shows that this soft strategy was still quite transgressive. We can laugh at the people in Toruń that someone would do something against this kind of soft action, but it happened. So it transgressed some borders. And required a special, in this case, legal protection of the Polish sort of police force. So completely different than in Russia, because in Russia the police is someone that actually attacked the artist, and the artist attacked the police at the same time. It is a war, art war. that they are involved in. They live in a very precarious situation. They don't have bank accounts. They don't have a permanent address. They don't have permanent mobile numbers. Oh, the situation was like this in the last 5 years. I don't know what it is right now. But here, this is something that requires the protection of the democratic state. The discussion had to be organized in the Center for Contemporary Art in Toruń, because there are some counter-publics that were offended by this action. The far-right groups, they are also a counter-public.
Yeah, I think
Obviously.
this is a very important point. It's like how offense is mobilized. So offense can be an element of a consciously chosen artistic strategy, but offense can also be a result of an artistic strategy which totally is not aimed
At
offending.
Yes.
So, and both of those strategies can be seen as transgressive. So I absolutely agree with what you...
The context will decide,
Exactly.
not some general theory.
And also not only the artist's intention.
Yes.
This is to me extremely important, because somehow...
The public reaction will decide, or the counter-public reaction.
I would like to ask also in the context of the Polish action, because for me it seems that it's not only soft, it's very normative and hegemonic and like democratic in a way, because what they're doing is just a piece of advocacy within a democratic framework that refers to illegal elements like gay marriage, but it's not illegal in itself, and it's just trying to get into the hegemonic framework. I mean, the very demand or request to legalize gay marriage is to enter a heteronormative scene, meaning you want to get married. Marriage is right now a heteronormative thing. It's not offering even a cultural alternative, let's say a queer lifestyle alternative. So in this way, it's not only soft, it's very democratic.